The great sage Vishwamitra suggested to Ram that he could be the most suitable of all who were present. Ram, by stringing Shiva's bow and snapping it into two, was found to be the most suitable and was given Sita's hand in marriage. Rama then, with his beloved brother Lakshman and wife Sita, returned to his kingdom of Ayodhya. King Dasharatha by now had decided to place Ram on the throne, since he believed he was too old to rule over his subjects. But Kaikeyi, the stepmother of Ram, whose mind had been poisoned by a maid servant, requested the king that her own son Bharat be made king and Ram be banished from the kingdom for no less than 14 years. This was a result of two long forgotten and unfulfilled boons granted to Kaikeyi by Dasharatha for saving his life once before. The king had no choice but to fulfill Kaikeyi's wishes, since he was a man of his words. Thus, Ram had to walk away from the throne, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana. Ram, Sita and Lakshmana walked through the forests and crossed the rivers Ganges and Godavari. They then decided to build a hut in an isolated but habitable environment near a place called Panchavati. Just beyond this clearing lived Shurpanaka, a she-demon. She was also Ravana's sister. On sighting Ram, she longed for him to be her husband. Using her magical powers, she turned into a beautiful maiden. But Ram rejected her advances and suggested instead that Lakshmana would make a perfect husband for her. Hurt by Ram's rejection, Shurpanaka changed into her original form and attacked Sita. Lakshmana responded by chopping off her nose. Fleeing in terror, Shurpanaka reached her brother Ravana and narrated the entire incident, also adding that Sita was a very beautiful damsel, and if Ravana married her, all gods would embrace the demons. Taken up by this suggestion, and in order to avenge his sister's disfiguration, Ravana visited the demon Maricha and sought his help. The next day, Maricha, using his magical powers, turned himself into a beautiful deer. Sita was so enchanted by this magical deer that she wanted Ram to capture it for her. Following the deer deeper and deeper into the forest, Ram realized that he had been tricked. He rushed into the forest and killed the deer. Meanwhile, Lakshmana, fooled by the dying cries of the deer, rushed into the forest assuming that it was Ram who had cried for help. But before he left the hut, he drew a line around it, protecting Sita from danger. Ravana, who had been hiding behind a tree all this while, was overjoyed at this turn of events. Things were happening exactly as he had planned. He changed himself into a sage and went up to Sita and asked for offering from her, compelling her to step outside the line. and suggesting to her that it would be unwise to send away a sage without offering. The moment Sita stepped outside the line, Ravana grabbed her and flew away in his chariot to his kingdom of Lanka. Looking for Sita for many days, Ram and Lakshmana arrived at the 8th kingdom of Kishkinda. After listening to Ram's narration of the sequence of events, Hanuman, the 8th guardian warrior, offered to help Ram in the search for Sita. Hanuman searched heaven and earth for Sita. He was then informed by a wounded vulture that it was Ravan who had abducted her. He crossed the ocean and reached the shores of Lanka, where he found Sita sitting sadly under an Ashoka tree. Failing to convince Sita of his loyalty to Ram, Hanuman presented her with Ram's ring which he had sent along as proof that he was still alive. Hanuman was enraged, and in order to save Sita, set fire to the entire island of Lanka. But Sita was adamant that it had to be Ram who would come and save her. By now, Ram had lost all hope in saving Sita. But Hanuman returned with the happy news that Sita was still alive and brought with him her jewel as proof. And then, along with an entire battalion of apes, Ram built a bridge across the ocean and led the ape army onto the shores of Lanka. Ravana, on learning that Ram had arrived, asked his brothers Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana and son Indrajit to prepare for war. But Vibhishana declined, claiming that it was wrong to have abducted Sita in the first place and that a war would be the end of the demon race. Ravana flew into a rage and threw Vibhishana out of his kingdom. Vibhishana then joined Ram and asked Ram to shield him. He also cautioned Ram that Ravana was preparing for a war against the entire human race. Ram accepted Vibhishana into his fold. After the commencement of the war, thousands of warriors from both sides were killed and wounded. Lakshmana was also hit by an arrow and was precariously close to death. Upon hearing this, Hanuman was reminded of a hill of medicinal herbs. He also remembered that he had to bring these herbs back before sunrise to save Lakshmana and the ape army. He rose above the earth and flew off with great speed. But he could not find the herbs. Realizing that time was short, he uprooted the entire mountain and carried it back to Lanka. With the help of these medicinal herbs, the warriors regained their strength and joined Rama in the battlefield. Ravana lost his brothers Kumbhakarna and son Indrajit, both of whom had troubled the ape army for a long period during the war. Nearing the end of the war, Ravana appeared to be immortal. Every time Ram tried to kill him, he only grew bigger and better. Ram could not find a solution to this. Vibhishana then informed Ram that for Ravana to die, an arrow had to pierce his navel. Praying to all gods and mustering all his strength, Ram aimed at Ravana's navel, and soon Ravana fell from his chariot onto the ground. And with him, an entire demon race had ended. Ram then performed all the rituals for the cremation of Ravana. After the war had ended and peace was restored, Ram declared Vibhishana as the king of Lanka. He also acknowledged Hanuman for his worthy efforts with his army. He embraced Hanuman and remarked that he had not seen anyone with such valor, ability, courtesy, wisdom and devotion. Ram wanted Hanuman to return to his kingdom of Kishkinda with his entire army, but Hanuman refused, wanting to serve Ram all through his life. Vibhishana's wife and maids then escorted Sita from the Ashoka garden. A beautiful sari was draped around her. Sita could not wait to see her victorious husband, and on seeing Ram, she fell at his feet. They then returned to Ayodhya. They arrived in Ayodhya on the eve of a new moon night. Rejoicing the return of Ram, the subjects lit up the entire kingdom with diyas and candles. They lit up the kingdom to such a great extent that the absence of the moon that night was not felt. Ram and Lakshmana's coronation took place with great splendor. Thus, on this day, Hindus celebrate Diwali as the festival of light. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Hanuman. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the great Indian epic of Ramayana. The actors in the order of appearance were Ravan Winnie Thomas, King Dasharat Ganesh Rudraraju, Ram Siddharth Maingi, Lakshman Sandeep Pawa, Sage Vishwamitra Ankur Gupta, Sita Meena Oksanen, Kaikeyi Urvashi Rohila, Shurpanaka again Urvashi Rohila, Marisha Farooq Shabir, Hanuman Ganesh Rudraraju, Kumbhakarna Ankur Gupta, Indrajit Farooq Shabir, and special thanks to Kalam E. Abbas, Arts, Anushka Paul. This play was directed by Mayank Goyal. And special thanks again to Mohammed Gibran Changi.
behind the entire thing. So next time, if anybody asks you that why Diwali is being celebrated